Back in the book segment tonight, did you see that awful crime in New York City? And it may be solved. 6 months ago, 30-year-old Karina Ventrano was found brutally choked to death in Queens. She was jogging in a park. Leads were few. But a stop and frisk incident apparently led to the capture of a suspect. You now tell us more. Fox News anchor Martha McCallum is here at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, right before the factor. How did detectives crack this case?
So essentially through the stop and frisk law, which we know has been minimized further and further with each settlement case, but they had gone through all of the prior criminal cases. They couldn't find anything. They had DNA from her body, from underneath her fingernails.
Let's stop. So the poor woman struggled and had DNA for the assailant under her fingertips. So they had that part of the DNA. So they were now looking for people who were hanging around that park in Queens, correct?
They had combed through all the prior criminal records. They found nothing. But when they went to the stop and frisk file, they found a guy who they had talked to a couple of times for loitering, essentially, in that area, public urination, that kind of thing. No criminal. He
was issued a citation for public urination.
That's right. He's Chanel Lewis, 20 years old, who you see in these pictures, who's been arrested. So if it weren't for the fact that they had stopped and frisked him at some point, there's no way that they would have found him.
So they get him, and I'm sure a number of other people who they stopped and frisked in that area, and they interviewed them. That's right. Do we know if they had a warrant to get his DNA?
No, once they took him into custody, they arrested him, they got the DNA, and, you know, now they were able to
An interesting legal question, and I don't know the answer to this, whether you're allowed to take a hair out of his head or spit in a cup or whatever. I don't know.
You know, I think there's a myriad of ways to get his DNA that he may or may not have been aware of, and whether or not there's a warrant is something that his attorneys will no doubt be looking into, as public attorney.
But they don't even need that, because according to the police, he confessed. Once they brought him in, he confessed to the crime. So here's the upshot. The stop and frisk they did in that park led to them to Chanel Lewis, who then confessed to the crime, so the police say. Almost the same day, the New York City authorities announced, because of an ACLU stop and frisk lawsuit, the ACLU is driving this anti-stop and frisk in a housing project, all right, that now police cannot stop people hanging around a housing project selling drugs.
Yeah, all of these, privately owned properties that have apartment buildings had asked the police to help keep people out of the area.
They wanted the cops in.
Or if they were hanging out in the doorways to protect the people who live there.
Right.
But then there have been all of these lawsuits. This was the final one that really chipped away at all the stuff.
Yeah, and the New York City authorities, sure. Now we won't have the cops in the housing projects, so the dope dealers can go in and stay all night.
People who lived in the buildings said that it was unfair to them, that they were being harassed by the police, they say, for stop and frisk.
About 2 or 3 of them, not most of them.
But that was their argument.
Right, and the ACLU, of course, good.